Thank you. Good morning to all. I would like to welcome the president of the Focolare movement. I feel so privileged to welcome you, Dr. Voce. I would like also to welcome the distinguished experts, distinguished guests, and all my dear friends. I am truly honored to be invited to this international seminar organized by the Focolare movement. I feel privileged that I have come to know the Focolare movement is a movement that endeavors with dedication to spread the great message of love in a world that has become, unfortunately, so narcissistic and self-centered. Surely your work as a movement for love and unity is not easy. Therefore, I'm very pleased to welcome you all at San Anton Palace for this international seminar entitled Law as a Tool for Integration in a Multicultural Society. I am certain that this crucial topic will be discussed in great detail. At the beginning of the seminar, allow me to share some of my thoughts, which I hope will stimulate your discussions further. In the words of the Canadian Catholic philosopher Marshall McLuhan, who said, and I quote, "First, we shape our tools, and afterwards, our tools shape us," unquote. My interpretation of McLuhan's words is that the power of the law should be there to shape and safeguard our more important values, values of universal human rights and fundamental freedoms, which should provide us with a respectful and dignified way of life. The law must never deviate from its responsibility to protect and promote the full dignity of every human being, whoever and wherever they are. For this reason, I believe that we must be aware of the laws we create and the policies we formulate. We must also be aware that our laws are not static, but must be open to processes of reform. Just as all relationships grow and mature, the relationships which are codified in our legal systems must be open to ongoing natural changes. I believe that it is in this way that our legal systems can ensure that they reflect our aspirations to secure peace and well-being for all. This seminar is interesting because it is focusing on a set of very particular relationships which are causing some particular concerns to our nations. This seminar is therefore important because we need to further educate ourselves about the connection that exists between our laws and these relationships. The moment newcomers arrive in countries of transit or destination, relationships begin to develop between different individuals and communities. People come into proximity with one another, not only due to basic needs, such as employment and housing, but also due to social and cultural circumstances. I believe our authorities and societies should think of this process of connection in terms of an inclusive and participative approach. Unfortunately, I must state that we are still lacking in this kind of approach, and much more must be done. This is why some immediate questions come to my mind, which I would like to share with you. How can we ensure that relationships between migrants and the receiving society do not result in conflicts? How can we ensure that these relationships are an opportunity for dialogue, for mutual benefit, and for shared prosperity? I strongly believe that the responsibility for successful inclusion entails a shared effort among national authorities, civil society activists, international organizations, and migrants themselves. All stakeholders must work together in synergy to promote a consistent and powerful commitment to solidarity. Migrants and their contributions to a receiving society must be valued. It is this relational dynamic which is crucial. This dynamic must be regulated by our laws and policies. However, let us not forget that there is an asymmetry of power in this essential relationship between migrants and authorities. Newcomers to a society must be informed. If not, they will not be in a position to access even their most fundamental human rights, nor will they be able to fully participate in the life of a society. I believe we must be aware of the fact that while it is crucial for us to value interactions at an individual level, we must also highlight the systemic and structural difficulties which migrants may face. We need to point out that these systemic and structural difficulties often occur when migrants come into contact with national and international institutions. Just as McLuhan highlights, the ways our institutions are structured often influence the kind and the quality of experience which a migrant has. These structures will dictate the outcome of the relationships, which are subsequently formed at an institutional, community, and individual level. Let me use an example to illustrate this further. When migrants encounter an educational system or other structures which regulate employment and healthcare, then they necessarily come face to face with a series of laws, regulations, and executive organizations. Migrants are also affected by unwritten practices, subtle customs, cultural expectations, and attitudes. These further complicate the ways in which a receiving society functions for migrants. It is on this level that inclusion or exclusion, befriending or alienation, opportunities or disconnections frequently take place. It is for this reason that I believe that at reception, the attitudes of our institutions must be mirrored by a humane and inclusive culture of openness to others. We must be vociferous in our determination to influence an inclusive and humane approach. Access to education and employment are, I believe, crucial factors which determine the outcome of our strategies for successful inclusion. Allow me to share a personal experience with you. A new NGO called Spark 15 was launched last month at an event facilitated in this hall by my Foundation for the Wellbeing of Society and in collaboration with UNHCR. Access to education and employment are at the heart of the advocacy being carried out by this group, which is the first of its kind in Europe. Spark 15 is a unique NGO. It is the only non-governmental organization created by and for young leaders within the refugee community in Malta. I do hope that this initiative will inspire the rest of Europe and the world. During the launch and that subsequent meetings, these young people spoke to me about their desire to pursue further education in Malta and the challenges they are facing from the authorities. However, they also spoke about the assistance and solidarity which they have found in Maltese civil society and from members of the University of Malta in order to change their situation for the better. By empowering themselves as advocates for change, building their legal literacy and access to information, I am sure that these young refugees will become powerful catalysts for social transformation. Let me also share with you a tangible experience that I had last week when these young refugees managed to bring together a number of young migrant and young Maltese communities. They did this through a sports initiative which promoted connection, dialogue, and inclusion through a shared passion for football. Undoubtedly, the outcomes of such an event created an opportunity for friendship, thus igniting the beginning of a culture of positive peace between these young communities. I am convinced that this initiative will not only be to them individually, but also to entire communities. Ultimately, this initiative will be of great benefit to Maltese society as a whole. Let me once again state that an effective way in which migrants are included within a receiving society must involve a simultaneous process which must occur between communities and our national institutions. We definitely must ensure flexibility and openness in our legal structures for this purpose of reception and inclusion to be fully successful. We must also be courageous in the face of small-minded populism by highlighting the very real opportunities and benefits which an inclusive and multicultural society can bring. We must ensure that laws and policies are coordinated. Laws and policies must reflect the diversity of voices and shared narratives of everyone, not least the experiences of migrants themselves. It is when we work in synergy with a vision and a long-term strategy to promote a culture of positive peace and meaningful well-being that we can ensure that each and every human being is given her rightful fundamental dignity in Malta, in the European Union, and across our world. Finally, I would like to wish you every success with the outcomes of this seminar, and I hope that your recommendations will be taken up by the relevant national authorities responsible for education, employment, home affairs, and justice. I myself, I would be more than happy to facilitate your recommendations, to take them even further. Thank you. I augur you every success.